The first feeling I had was one of just deep responsibility. The elation lasted about 35 seconds, you know, like, yay.
And then, now I've got to do it.
So it was a great sense of responsibility, as you do feel if you're elected to high office, because suddenly the hopes and aspirations of an entire nation rest on your shoulders. In fact, it's a very frightening thing, because what you decide matters. It affects people's lives the next day. It's not a game, it's not a theory, it's not a plaything. You change people's opportunities in a big way through what you decide. So for me, it was a sobering experience.
So what skills then do you call upon to have to withhold that kind of pressure and responsibility? As you say, you're changing people's lives.
First and foremost is a sense of humour. You don't have a sense of humour in political life, you die. Seriously. There's just too much going on which you can't control. And I think the second thing is, when you're looking at proposals for change in a country, be very sober about it. You don't just assume that change for its own sake is good. You've got to look at careful proposals for change, whether it's on the economy, on education or the environment, and then act.
Another pivotal moment, of course, in your premiership was the financial crisis, 2007, 2008. What was it like to be a world leader at that time? And how did you know that your stimulus measures would work?
The honest answer is, for those of us who were in office at the time, it was bloody frightening. I think the thing which benefited me is, by instinct, I'm an historian. I read history. I knew enough about the history of the 20s and the 30s, and of the history of recent recessions in the global economy in the early 80s and the early 90s, to know not just what to look for, but what measures not to adopt in response to it. So when we met as a cabinet after Black Friday in October of 2008, spent the whole weekend in a cabinet meeting, brought in all the Treasury officials, and we went through the data. But we spent the first half of the first day going through economic history. And that's when we decided to act on financial confidence, provided a guarantee for all Australian savings deposits, a guarantee for all Australian interbank lending, and then began a very massive stimulus for the real economy of 5% of GDP equivalent over the next 18 months. And thank God it worked.
CNBC Meets Defining Values, brought to you by UOB Private Bank.